Jake Morrison disappeared on September 15, 2004, at age 28, during a solo climbing expedition in Colorado's Rocky Mountains. According to official records, Morrison had informed his girlfriend that he intended to document geological formations in the Sawtooth Ridge area for his master's degree research at the University of Colorado Boulder. According to Sarah Chen, his girlfriend at the time, Morrison was known for his passion for climbing and his academic work in environmental geology. Chen, who was also a graduate student at the same university, told authorities that Morrison maintained a disciplined routine, dividing his time between studies and mountain expeditions. According to testimonies from colleagues in the master's program, Morrison stood out for his dedication to research on environmental impacts of mining activities in protected areas. The young man grew up in Denver, son of Robert Morrison, an executive at a business consulting firm, and Linda Morrison, a retired high school teacher. According to family members, Jake showed interest in nature from childhood, beginning to practice climbing at age 16 in local gyms. Robert Morrison told police that while he supported his son's hobbies, he had reservations about Jake's professional choice. According to the father, there were family discussions about the financial viability of an academic career in geology. Marcus Webb, Morrison's best friend and climbing partner, provided detailed information about the young man's habits to authorities. Webb reported that Morrison was meticulous in his expedition preparations, always informing planned routes and estimated return times. According to Webb, Morrison rarely did solo climbs, always preferring to have a partner for safety reasons. Webb's testimony to authorities indicated surprise at Morrison's decision to go alone to Sawtooth Ridge. Chen informed police that in the week before the disappearance, Morrison seemed worried about something related to his research work. According to her, her boyfriend had mentioned interesting discoveries in his geological data collection, but had not provided specific details. Chen said Morrison commented about the need to make one more field trip to confirm certain information for his dissertation. Morrison's advisor, Dr. Michael Stevens from the University of Colorado's Geology Department, confirmed that the student was working on research about mining effects on mountain ecosystems. Stevens told authorities that Morrison was a dedicated student and his research was progressing well. The professor reported that Morrison had requested permission to make additional geological sample collections in remote areas of the Rocky Mountains. Records from Mountain Gear Climbing Equipment Store in Boulder confirmed that Morrison purchased new ropes and safety equipment 3 days before his disappearance. Store employee David Kim remembered the transaction and said Morrison seemed enthusiastic about an upcoming expedition. Kim reported that Morrison mentioned plans to explore an area he had not previously visited. Sarah Chen provided details about the last conversation she had with Morrison. According to her, on the morning of September 15th, Morrison confirmed he would depart for Sawtooth Ridge around 6 a.m. and planned to return on the afternoon of the 16th. Chen said Morrison took climbing equipment, material for geological sample collection, sufficient water for 2 days, and light food. She reported that Morrison used a blue North Face backpack and wore gray and red climbing clothes. Morrison's academic routine was well documented by colleagues. Jennifer Walsh, a graduate school colleague, said Morrison frequently spent mornings at the university library and afternoons in the geology laboratory. Walsh reported that Morrison used to discuss his discoveries with other students and always showed enthusiasm for his fieldwork. According to her, Morrison had commented about finding interesting evidence of mineral activity in areas that theoretically should be protected. University records show Morrison maintained good grades and had published an article in an academic journal about geological analysis techniques. His academic record indicates specialization in environmental geology, with particular focus on identifying mining impacts in conservation areas. The academic advisor, Professor James Rodriguez, confirmed Morrison was on schedule to defend his dissertation the following semester. Linda Morrison, Jake's mother, told authorities that her son called regularly, usually on Sundays. She reported that Jake seemed happy with his studies and relationship with Sarah. According to the mother, Jake had mentioned plans to work for government environmental protection agencies after completing his master's degree. Linda Morrison confirmed her son had always been careful in outdoor activities and had never been involved in serious climbing accidents. Webb provided information about places Morrison used to frequent. According to him, Morrison knew well several climbing routes in the Boulder area and surroundings, but Sawtooth Ridge was a less familiar area. Webb said Morrison had mentioned interest in exploring that specific region for his research, as he had read about interesting geological formations in the area. According to Webb, Morrison consulted topographic maps and climbing guides before planning the trip. Chen reported that Morrison maintained a stable relationship with her for 2 years. According to her, they met in a geology class and shared interest in outdoor activities. Chen said Morrison spoke frequently about future plans, including possible relocation to Washington to work with federal environmental agencies. She confirmed Morrison seemed optimistic about his professional prospects. Richard Torres, owner of the apartment where Morrison lived, confirmed the young man was a punctual and quiet tenant. Torres said Morrison received few visits besides Chen and Webb, and kept the apartment organized. According to Torres, Morrison stored climbing equipment in a designated area and always informed when planning long trips. Phone records show Morrison made his last call on the morning of September 15th to Chen, confirming his travel plans. There are no records of subsequent communication. Chen said she tried calling Morrison on the night of September 16th, when he did not return as planned, but the calls went straight to voicemail. Dr. Stevens confirmed Morrison had scheduled a meeting for September 18th to discuss the results of his field collection. The professor said Morrison was eager to analyze the samples he planned to collect during the Sawtooth Ridge expedition. Stevens reported Morrison had expressed interest in expanding his research to include more detailed analyses of mineral activity in the region. Webb said there were plans for a joint expedition with Morrison the weekend following the disappearance. According to Webb, Morrison had suggested they could explore together some of the areas he would visit alone first. Webb reported Morrison seemed excited about recent discoveries in his fieldwork and mentioned having found evidence of human activity in supposedly untouched areas. Chen provided a list of belongings Morrison took on the trip, based on what she observed him prepare. The list included basic climbing equipment, geological collection material, camera, portable GPS, and supplies for 2 days. Chen said Morrison was always methodical in his preparations and rarely forgot essential items. Morrison's background showed no problems with law enforcement or mental health issues, according to official records. Colleagues and family members consistently described a responsible person, passionate about his work and careful in risky activities. Chen confirmed Morrison had not mentioned specific safety concerns or personal problems that could have influenced his decision to make the solo expedition. The Professor Stevens added that Morrison's research focus had recently shifted to examining potential illegal activities in protected mountain areas. According to Stevens, Morrison had expressed concerns about discrepancies between official mining permits and actual activity he observed during field surveys. The professor told investigators that Morrison planned to document these findings more thoroughly during his September expedition. Webb recalled conversations where Morrison discussed his growing expertise in identifying signs of unauthorized mining operations. According to Webb, Morrison had developed skills in recognizing equipment marks and environmental disturbances that indicated recent human activity in remote locations. Webb said Morrison seemed particularly interested in areas where such activity should not legally occur. Chen mentioned that Morrison had recently purchased additional camera equipment, telling her he needed better documentation capabilities for his research. According to Chen, Morrison explained he wanted to create a comprehensive visual record of geological formations and any human impact he might discover. She confirmed Morrison was methodical about photographic documentation of his fieldwork. University records indicate Morrison had applied for additional research funding to expand his study area. According to administrative documents, Morrison proposed investigating a broader range of remote mountain locations, citing preliminary findings that suggested more widespread environmental concerns than initially anticipated. His funding application described plans for systematic documentation of mining impacts across multiple protected wilderness areas. On September 16, 2004, when Jake Morrison failed to return from his climbing expedition as scheduled, Sarah Chen contacted park rangers at approximately 8 p.m. According to the incident report filed by Ranger Station Chief Tom Bradley, Chen reported that Morrison had not answered his cell phone throughout the day and had missed their planned evening call. Chen provided rangers with Morrison's intended route to Sawtooth Ridge and his estimated return time of 4 p.m. that afternoon. Boulder County Sheriff's Department was notified at 9:30 p.m. the same evening. Deputy Sheriff Maria Gonzalez, who took the initial missing person report, documented that Morrison was an experienced climber who rarely deviated from planned schedules. According to the police report, Chen emphasized that Morrison always maintained contact during expeditions and had never previously failed to return on time without communication. Search and rescue operations began at dawn on September 17th. According to Search and Rescue Coordinator Jim Patterson, the initial team consisted of 12 volunteers from Boulder County Mountain Rescue and 3 park rangers. Patterson told local media that weather conditions were favorable, with clear skies and temperatures in the 60s, which should have provided optimal search conditions. Morrison's vehicle, a 1998 Honda Civic, was located at the Sawtooth Ridge trailhead parking area at approximately 10 a.m. on September 17th. According to the police report, the car was unlocked with no signs of disturbance. Inside the vehicle, investigators found Morrison's wallet, containing identification and credit cards, along with a spare set of climbing shoes and energy bars. Deputy Gonzalez noted that the presence of Morrison's wallet suggested he had not planned to be away from his vehicle for extended periods. Marcus Webb joined the search effort on September 18th, providing detailed knowledge of Morrison's climbing preferences and likely route choices. According to Webb's statement to searchers, Morrison typically chose moderate difficulty routes when climbing alone and preferred well-marked trails for approach hikes. Webb told rescue teams that Morrison was familiar with basic wilderness survival techniques and carried standard emergency supplies. Linda Morrison arrived from Denver on September 18th, accompanied by her husband Robert. According to media reports from the Boulder Daily Camera, Linda Morrison made emotional appeals for information about her son's whereabouts. She told reporters that Jake had been climbing for over a decade without serious incidents and was known for his cautious approach to mountain activities. The search area expanded on September 19th to include helicopter surveillance. Colorado National Guard provided aerial support, with 2 helicopters covering approximately 25 square miles of mountainous terrain. Pilot Captain Steve Martinez reported to incident commanders that visibility was excellent, but the rugged terrain contained numerous areas where a person could be hidden from aerial observation. Dr. Michael Stevens, Morrison's academic advisor, provided additional information to search teams about Morrison's research objectives in the area. According to Stevens' statement to authorities, Morrison had expressed particular interest in documenting geological formations on the north face of Sawtooth Ridge, an area that required technical climbing skills to access safely. Ground search teams reported finding no trace of Morrison's passage on main trail systems by September 20th. According to search and rescue logs, teams had covered all established climbing routes in the immediate area and expanded searches to include off-trail possibilities. Team leader Patricia Hayes reported that searchers found no equipment, clothing, or other physical evidence of Morrison's presence in the search area. Sarah Chen remained at the search command post throughout the operation, providing detailed information about Morrison's equipment and clothing to search teams. According to her statements to coordinators, Morrison carried a red and gray North Face jacket, wore black climbing pants, and used a distinctive blue backpack with reflective strips. Chen emphasized that Morrison's equipment was in good condition and should have been visible to searchers if present in the search area. Local media coverage intensified on September 21st, with Denver television stations sending crews to cover the search effort. Guza TV reporter Jennifer Thompson interviewed family members and search coordinators, broadcasting nightly updates on search progress. Thompson reported that the story gained attention within Colorado's climbing community, with volunteers arriving from across the state to assist in search efforts. The climbing community response was significant, according to Colorado Mountain Club President David Lee. Lee told reporters that Morrison was known among local climbers as a safety-conscious individual who shared route information and weather updates with fellow climbers. The Mountain Club organized additional volunteer searchers and provided technical climbing expertise to official search teams. Weather conditions remained favorable through September 22nd, but search coordinators began discussing the possibility of expanding search parameters. According to Patterson's daily briefings, Teams had systematically covered all areas within a 2-mile radius of the trailhead parking area. Patterson told media representatives that searchers were considering the possibility that Morrison had changed his intended route or encountered unexpected circumstances. Robert Morrison addressed media on September 23rd, making public appeals for any information about his son's disappearance. According to transcripts from the press conference, Robert Morrison offered a reward for information leading to Jake's location. He told reporters that despite previous disagreements about Jake's career choices, the family fully supported his passion for geology and climbing. Search dogs were brought in on September 24th, provided by Front Range Rescue Dogs organization. Handler Nancy Wilson reported that dogs showed interest in Morrison's scent at the parking area, but were unable to establish a clear trail leading from the location. Wilson told search coordinators that this could indicate Morrison had been transported by vehicle from the parking area, though she noted that mountain terrain often makes scent tracking difficult. The Boulder County Sheriff's Department classified the case as a missing person investigation rather than a criminal matter, according to statements from Sheriff Thomas Walsh. Walsh told reporters that there was no evidence of foul play, and the case was being treated as a possible climbing accident or emergency. However, Walsh noted that the lack of any physical evidence was unusual for typical mountain rescue situations. University of Colorado officials issued statements supporting the Morrison family in search efforts. According to university spokesman Mark Rogers, the geology department was providing technical support to search teams and had offered to analyze any geological evidence that might be discovered. Rogers confirmed that Morrison's research work was progressing normally, and there were no academic or personal issues that might have affected his mental state. Chen provided additional details about Morrison's final communications to investigators. According to her statement, Morrison had sent a text message at 11:30 a.m. on September 15th, indicating he had reached the base of the climbing area and was beginning his ascent. This was the last confirmed communication from Morrison, and cell phone records showed no subsequent activity on his account. Search teams expanded operations to include technical rope rescue specialists on September 25th. According to rescue coordinator Patterson, the decision was made to examine cliff faces and steep terrain that had been visible only from helicopters. Technical rescue teams rappelled into areas that would have been inaccessible to ground searchers, looking for signs of climbing accidents or equipment. The expanded search revealed no additional evidence of Morrison's presence in the area. Technical rescue specialist Linda Davis reported that teams examined all major cliff faces within the expanded search zone and found no climbing anchors, rope marks, or equipment that could be attributed to Morrison. Davis noted that the absence of any climbing evidence was inconsistent with Morrison's stated intentions to document geological formations. Family members established a tip line on September 26th, publicizing a phone number for anyone with information about Morrison's disappearance. According to Linda Morrison's statements to media, the family received dozens of calls in the first days, though most provided general support rather than specific information about Jake's whereabouts. The formal search and rescue operation was scaled back on September 27th, after 10 days of intensive searching. According to official statements from Boulder County, the decision was made based on the comprehensive coverage of all probable search areas and the absence of any physical evidence indicating Morrison's location. Coordinator Patterson emphasized that the case would remain open and that any new information would prompt renewed search efforts. Marcus Webb organized continued volunteer search efforts beyond the official operation. According to Webb's interviews with local media, he coordinated weekend search parties comprised of Morrison's climbing friends and university colleagues. Webb told reporters that the informal searches would continue indefinitely, focusing on areas that might have been missed during the official operation. The Boulder Daily Camera reported on September 28th that the Morrison case had generated unusual interest due to the complete absence of physical evidence. Reporter Mike Stevens noted that most climbing accidents in the area typically resulted in discovery of equipment or other signs of the missing person within the first few days of searching. Chen returned to her university classes on September 29th, though she continued coordinating with ongoing volunteer search efforts. According to statements from her academic advisor, Chen was struggling emotionally, but determined to maintain Morrison's research interests and continue supporting search activities. University counseling services confirmed they were providing support to students affected by Morrison's disappearance. The case remained active with Boulder County Sheriff's Department, according to official statements, though daily search activities had ended. Detective Ray Johnson, assigned as primary investigator, told media that the department would continue investigating any leads or information related to Morrison's disappearance. Johnson emphasized that the case had not been closed and that renewed search efforts remained possible if new evidence emerged. On August 12, 2024, nearly 20 years after Jake Morrison's disappearance, a team of environmental researchers from Colorado State University made an unexpected discovery while conducting a survey of cave systems in the Sawtooth Ridge area. According to the official report filed by team leader Dr. Amanda Foster, the group was documenting previously unmapped cave formations when graduate student Kevin Chen discovered a deteriorated blue backpack wedged in a narrow crevice approximately 400 feet below the main ridgeline. The backpack was immediately recognized as potentially significant evidence. According to Chen's statement to authorities, the bag matched descriptions of equipment that Jake Morrison had been carrying during his 2004 expedition. The research team followed proper protocols, photographing the location before removing the backpack, and immediately contacting Boulder County Sheriff's Department. Detective Ray Johnson, now a veteran investigator who had worked the original Morrison case, responded to the scene on August 13th. According to Johnson's report, the backpack was severely weathered, but still contained several items in remarkably good condition due to protective packaging. Most significantly, investigators found a sealed waterproof container that had been custom modified to fit inside a standard water bottle. Inside the waterproof container, investigators discovered a flash drive containing digital files created by Morrison in September 2004. According to the forensic analysis conducted by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, the files included audio recordings, digital photographs, and text documents created between September 14 and September 15, 2004. The digital timestamps indicated the final files were created just hours before Morrison's last known communication. The audio recordings revealed Morrison's growing concern about unauthorized activities he had observed in the protected wilderness area. According to transcripts prepared by investigators, Morrison documented his discovery of heavy machinery tracks, excavation sites, and equipment staging areas in locations where such activities should not have been legally permitted. Morrison's recordings indicated he had been conducting his own investigation into these activities for several weeks. Sarah Chen, now Sarah Chen Williams, and married with 2 children, was contacted by investigators on August 15th. According to her statement to Detective Johnson, she had maintained hope for 20 years that Jake might someday be found, though she had long accepted that he was likely deceased. Chen Williams confirmed that the voice on the recordings was definitely Morrison's, and that several references in the audio matched conversations they had shared in 2004. The digital photographs contained in the flash drive showed extensive evidence of mining equipment in remote areas of the wilderness. According to expert analysis provided by the Bureau of Land Management, the images documented large-scale excavation operations, temporary access roads, and stockpiles of extracted materials. BLM specialist Janet Rodriguez confirmed that such operations would have required permits that were not issued for the documented locations. Morrison's recorded observations included detailed descriptions of personnel and equipment he had observed during his surveillance activities. According to the audio files, Morrison had documented license plate numbers, equipment manufacturer information, and approximate crew sizes. The recordings indicated Morrison believed he had discovered an illegal rare earth mineral extraction operation being conducted without proper environmental oversight. Linda Morrison, now 78 years old, was informed about the discovery by investigators on August 16th. According to her daughter-in-law's statement to media, Linda Morrison experienced mixed emotions upon learning about the flash drive, describing relief at finally having answers, while struggling with confirmation that Jake had likely been in danger. Linda Morrison's health prevented her from providing extensive interviews, but she authorized family representatives to work with investigators. The case was reopened as a potential homicide investigation on August 20th, according to official statements from Boulder County District Attorney Michael Foster. Foster told reporters that the evidence suggested Morrison may have been targeted because of his documentation of illegal activities. Foster emphasized that the 20-year gap created significant challenges for prosecuting any potential crimes, but confirmed that active investigation would proceed. FBI involvement began on August 22, when federal agents joined the investigation due to the involvement of federal land violations and potential interstate criminal activity. Special Agent Patricia Wong told local media that the FBI would be examining whether Morrison's disappearance was connected to broader patterns of illegal mining on federal lands. Wong confirmed that similar cases had been documented in other western states during the same time period. Marcus Webb, now 51 and working as a climbing guide in Montana, returned to Colorado to assist investigators. According to Webb's statement to authorities, Morrison had mentioned concerns about unusual activity in wilderness areas during their conversations in late August 2004, but had not provided specific details about the nature or location of his observations. Webb told investigators that Morrison had seemed excited about documenting something important for his research. The flash drive contents revealed that Morrison had been conducting his investigation methodically, creating detailed maps and maintaining careful records of his observations. According to forensic analysis, Morrison had spent several days in early September 2004 conducting surveillance from concealed positions, documenting the daily routines and equipment usage of the illegal operation. The files suggested Morrison planned to present his findings to federal authorities after gathering sufficient evidence. Dr. Michael Stevens, Morrison's former academic advisor, now retired, reviewed the digital files at investigators' request. According to Stevens's statement, the geological analysis contained in Morrison's files was sophisticated and would have provided compelling evidence of environmental violations. Stevens told investigators that Morrison's documentation methods were consistent with his academic training and would have been valuable evidence for enforcement actions. The investigation revealed that Morrison had attempted to research the legal ownership and permitted activities for the areas he was documenting. According to files on the flash drive, Morrison had contacted multiple government agencies seeking information about mining permits and land use authorizations. The digital records showed Morrison had been frustrated by inconsistent information and bureaucratic delays in his requests. Kevin Chen, the graduate student who discovered the backpack, told investigators that the cave system where the evidence was found would have been extremely difficult to locate without specialized knowledge of the area. According to Chen's statement, the cave entrance was concealed by rock formations and vegetation, and the interior required technical climbing skills to navigate safely. Chen noted that the location suggested someone with extensive wilderness experience had hidden the backpack deliberately. The investigation expanded to include examination of historical mining permits and corporate records from 2004. According to FBI agent Wong, investigators were reviewing applications and permits issued during the relevant time period to identify companies that might have had legitimate reasons to operate in the area. Wong told reporters that this process was complicated by changes in corporate ownership and incomplete record-keeping from 20 years earlier. Sarah Chen Williams provided additional context about Morrison's activities in the weeks before his disappearance. According to her updated statement to investigators, Morrison had mentioned making contacts with environmental advocacy groups and had discussed potential media attention for his research. Chen Williams told authorities that Morrison had seemed energized by the possibility that his work could contribute to protection of wilderness areas. The discovery prompted renewed media attention, with Denver television stations providing extensive coverage of the case developments. Guza TV reporter Jennifer Thompson, who had covered the original search in 2004, returned to report on the investigation's new direction. Thompson noted the unusual nature of a missing person case being reclassified as a potential homicide after 2 decades. Local environmental groups expressed strong interest in the case developments. According to statements from Colorado Wilderness Coalition Director Mark Torres, Morrison's documentation aligned with concerns environmental advocates had raised about enforcement of mining regulations in protected areas. Torres told reporters that Morrison's work could provide valuable historical evidence of violations that might otherwise have gone undetected. The investigation faced significant challenges due to the time elapsed since Morrison's disappearance. According to District Attorney Foster, many potential witnesses were no longer available. Corporate records had been destroyed or lost, and physical evidence from the alleged mining operations had long since been removed or obscured by natural processes. Foster told media representatives that prosecutors would need to carefully evaluate what charges could realistically be pursued. Dr. Foster, who led the research team that discovered the evidence, told investigators that her group had been conducting their survey as part of a broader study of climate change effects on mountain ecosystems. According to Foster's statement, the discovery of Morrison's backpack was completely unexpected and had required her team to modify their research schedule to accommodate the investigation. The FBI investigation expanded to include review of missing person cases in other Western states during the 2004 to 2006 time period. According to Agent Wong, investigators were examining whether Morrison's disappearance might be connected to similar cases involving environmental researchers or activists who had documented illegal activities on federal lands. Wong confirmed that federal databases contained several potentially related cases from the same era. Marcus Webb told investigators that the climbing community had developed informal theories about Morrison's disappearance over the years. According to Webb's statement, some climbers had suspected that Morrison might have witnessed something that placed him in danger, though specific details were never established. Webb emphasized that these were only speculation based on the unusual circumstances of Morrison's disappearance. The investigation revealed that several government agencies had received complaints about unauthorized activities in the Sawtooth Ridge area during 2004 and 2005. According to documents obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests, the Forest Service and Bureau of Land Management had logged multiple reports of suspicious activities, though follow-up investigations were apparently limited or inconclusive. Chen Williams told investigators that Morrison had expressed frustration with what he perceived as inadequate government response to environmental concerns. According to her statement, Morrison had mentioned considering alternative approaches to publicizing his research if official channels proved ineffective. Chen Williams emphasized that Morrison was committed to legal and ethical methods of environmental advocacy. The case developments prompted contact from other family members of missing persons in similar circumstances. According to Detective Johnson, the department received several calls from families whose relatives had disappeared in wilderness areas under unusual circumstances. Johnson confirmed that investigators would review these cases for potential connections, though he cautioned that most missing person cases in mountain areas involved accidents rather than criminal activity. The FBI investigation reached a breakthrough on November 3, 2024. When federal agents identified the company responsible for the illegal mining operation documented in Jake Morrison's flash drive. According to court documents filed in Denver Federal District Court, Mountain West Extractors, LLC, had conducted unauthorized rare earth mineral extraction in the Sawtooth Ridge area between July and October 2004. The company had operated without proper permits and had systematically violated multiple federal environmental protection laws. Special Agent Patricia Wong announced during a November 5 press conference that the investigation had established a timeline placing Morrison's final surveillance activities in direct conflict with the mining operations schedule. According to Wong's statement, digital evidence indicated Morrison had documented the operation during its final weeks, when crews were removing equipment and attempting to conceal evidence of their activities. The investigation revealed that Mountain West Extractors, LLC, was owned by Denver businessman Gerald Hoffman, who had died in 2019. According to corporate records obtained by investigators, the company had been dissolved in 2005, shortly after Morrison's disappearance. FBI financial analysts determined that the company had extracted an estimated $2.3 million worth of rare earth minerals from federal land without authorization. Court documents filed on November 8 identified 3 former Mountain West Extractors employees who were still living and could face federal charges. According to the indictment, Operations Manager Stephen Blake, Equipment Supervisor Randy Torres, and Security Coordinator Michael Chen were charged with conspiracy to violate federal mining laws, environmental crimes, and interfering with a federal investigation. All three men were arrested at their current residences in Colorado and Wyoming. The investigation determined that Morrison had likely been confronted by security personnel while conducting his documentation activities on September 15, 2004. According to the FBI's reconstruction of events, Morrison's final audio recording captured sounds of approaching vehicles and voices, though the recording ended abruptly before any direct confrontation was documented. Agent Wong told reporters that the evidence suggested Morrison had attempted to hide his equipment before being discovered. Stephen Blake, now 67 years old, was questioned by federal agents on November 10th. According to court transcripts, Blake initially denied knowledge of Morrison's disappearance, but eventually acknowledged that the company had been aware of someone conducting surveillance of their operation. Blake's attorney David Martinez told reporters that his client would cooperate with the investigation while maintaining his innocence regarding any involvement in Morrison's disappearance. The search for Morrison's remains was resumed on November 12th, with FBI teams focusing on areas identified through analysis of the flash drive contents and testimony from former mining employees. According to search coordinator Captain James Wilson, teams were examining locations within a 5-mile radius of the documented mining sites, looking for areas where remains might have been concealed 20 years earlier. Sarah Chen Williams provided victim impact statements to federal prosecutors on November 15th. According to court documents, Chen Williams described the 20-year impact of Morrison's disappearance on his family and friends. She told prosecutors that the uncertainty had prevented proper grieving and had affected her ability to maintain relationships and move forward with her life, though she had eventually married and started a family. Linda Morrison's health prevented her from testifying directly, but her written statement was read in court proceedings on November 18th. According to the statement, Morrison's mother expressed relief that the truth was finally emerging, but emphasized that no legal outcome could restore the years of uncertainty and grief the family had endured. The statement requested that any sentences consider the long-term impact on Morrison's surviving family members. The investigation faced significant limitations due to the statute of limitations on many potential charges. According to federal prosecutor Amanda Stevens, the 20-year gap meant that some crimes could no longer be prosecuted, and the deaths of key figures, including company owner Gerald Hoffman, eliminated possibilities for charges against primary decision-makers. Stevens told reporters that prosecutors were focusing on charges that remained viable under federal law. Randy Torres, the former equipment supervisor, reached a plea agreement with federal prosecutors on November 22nd. According to court documents, Torres agreed to provide testimony about the mining operation and Morrison's disappearance in exchange for reduced charges. Torres' attorney, Jennifer Walsh, told reporters that her client had been a low-level employee who was following orders from company leadership. Torres's testimony revealed that Morrison had been discovered photographing equipment on the morning of September 15, 2004. According to court transcripts, Torres stated that Morrison was initially detained by security personnel and questioned about his activities. Torres testified that Morrison had identified himself as a graduate student conducting geological research and had attempted to explain his presence in the area. The testimony indicated that Morrison had been taken to the mining operation's temporary headquarters, where company officials debated how to handle the situation. According to Torres's statement, Morrison had offered to destroy his photographs and leave the area without reporting what he had observed. Torres testified that some company personnel supported releasing Morrison, while others argued that he posed too great a risk to the operation. Michael Chen, the former security coordinator, refused to cooperate with investigators and was held without bail pending trial. According to court records, Chen's attorney argued that the charges were based on circumstantial evidence and that the 20-year gap made it impossible for his client to receive a fair trial. Prosecutor Stevens told the court that Chen's position within the company made him a key figure in decisions regarding Morrison. The search for Morrison's remains concluded on December 1, 2024, without locating additional physical evidence. According to FBI agent Wong, search teams had examined all areas identified as potential burial sites using ground-penetrating radar and cadaver dogs. Wong told reporters that the mountain terrain and 2 decades of environmental changes had likely obscured or displaced any remaining evidence. Marcus Webb attended court proceedings as a family representative, providing statements about Morrison's character and the impact of his disappearance on the climbing community. According to Webb's testimony, Morrison's case had affected safety practices among Colorado climbers, with many now carrying GPS tracking devices and maintaining more frequent communication during solo expeditions. The federal environmental charges resulted in significant financial penalties for the defunct mining company's assets. According to court documents filed on December 5th, remaining corporate assets were seized to fund environmental restoration efforts in the Sawtooth Ridge area. The restoration project was estimated to cost $1.8 million and would require several years to complete. Dr. Michael Stevens, Morrison's former academic advisor, testified about the value of Morrison's research and the potential impact his findings could have had on environmental protection efforts. According to Stevens' court testimony, Morrison's documentation methods were scientifically sound and would have provided compelling evidence for regulatory enforcement. Stevens emphasized that Morrison's work had contributed to current understanding of illegal mining impacts even 20 years after his disappearance. The University of Colorado Boulder announced on December 8th that it would establish the Jake Morrison Memorial Research Fund to support graduate students conducting environmental geology research. According to university officials, the fund would prioritize research projects focused on protecting wilderness areas from illegal industrial activities. The announcement was made during a ceremony attended by Morrison's surviving family members and former classmates. Stephen Blake was sentenced on December 12th to 4 years in federal prison for his role in the illegal mining operation. According to court records, Blake's sentence was reduced based on his cooperation with investigators and his lack of direct involvement in decisions regarding Morrison. Judge Patricia Rodriguez emphasized that the sentence reflected the serious nature of environmental crimes and their long-term consequences. Randy Torres received a sentence of 2 years probation and 500 hours of community service focused on environmental restoration work. According to sentencing documents, Torres' cooperation with investigators and his limited role in company decision-making contributed to the lighter sentence. Prosecutor Stevens told reporters that Torres' testimony had been essential to establishing the timeline of events surrounding Morrison's disappearance. The trial of Michael Chen began on December 15, 2024, with prosecutors arguing that Chen had been directly responsible for decisions regarding Morrison's fate. According to opening statements, prosecutors claimed Chen had the authority to release Morrison, but chose instead to eliminate what he perceived as a threat to the company's operation. Chen's defense attorney argued that the evidence was insufficient to prove his client's involvement in any criminal activity. Sarah Chen Williams established a nonprofit organization called the Morrison Foundation to support families of missing persons in wilderness areas. According to the foundation's mission statement, the organization would provide resources for extended search efforts and advocate for improved safety protocols for outdoor researchers and recreationists. Chen Williams told supporters that the organization would honor Morrison's memory while helping other families avoid similar uncertainty. The case prompted legislative review of enforcement mechanisms for protecting federal lands from illegal mining activities. According to statements from Colorado Senator Maria Lopez, congressional committees would examine whether current laws provided adequate deterrence and whether enforcement agencies had sufficient resources to monitor remote areas effectively. Lopez emphasized that Morrison's case illustrated ongoing vulnerabilities in wilderness protection systems. Environmental groups praised the investigation's outcome, while noting that many questions remained unanswered. According to Colorado Wilderness Coalition Director Mark Torres, the case demonstrated that illegal activities on public lands often went undetected for extended periods. Torres called for increased funding for enforcement agencies and better coordination between federal and state authorities. The Morrison family announced on December 20th that they would donate Jake's research materials to the University of Colorado's archives, making them available to future environmental researchers. According to family attorney David Kim, the materials included field notes, photographs, and geological samples that Morrison had collected during his graduate studies. The family expressed hope that the materials would continue to contribute to environmental protection efforts. Linda Morrison passed away peacefully on December 22, 2024, at age 78, surrounded by family members. According to her obituary, she had lived to see justice served in her son's case and had found peace in knowing the truth about his disappearance. The obituary noted that Linda Morrison had spent 20 years advocating for missing persons' families and had supported search and rescue organizations throughout Colorado. The final court proceedings concluded on December 28, 2024, with Michael Chen receiving a sentence of 12 years in federal prison for his role in Morrison's disappearance and the illegal mining operation. According to court records, Judge Rodriguez's sentence reflected the severity of Chen's crimes and their impact on the Morrison family. Prosecutor Stevens told reporters that while the sentence provided some justice, it could never fully compensate for the loss of Jake Morrison's life and contributions to environmental science. The Sawtooth Ridge area was designated as a protected research zone in Morrison's memory, with enhanced monitoring to prevent future unauthorized activities. According to the designation announcement, the area would serve as a field research site for environmental studies programs and would include interpretive materials about Morrison's contributions to geological science. The designation ensured that Morrison's final research location would be preserved for future generations of environmental scientists.